if the ink is dry on your passport, maybe you should stick to following girls around the city with a hidden camera or some other silliness, because you probably don't know what it's like anymore to get off the bus and try and get a trike to your hotel. Just saying. So the Trike Mafia of Angeles City. I got 20 minutes here before I can get coffee where I want to get coffee. So let's talk about the Trike Mafia of Angeles City and expose them. And expose the fraud filling the Philippines who's trying to say there isn't a Trike Mafia. So who am I and how do I have the right to talk this chismis, this bullshit, this gossip, this opinionated rant? I'm just a chucklehead with some gray hairs, a lot of opinions, and I've been to the Philippines a few times, half dozen or so. First time I heard the word Trike Mafia was from a Trike driver. The Trike driver told me about the Trike Mafia, warned me about the Trike Mafia, and said, be careful. And so the reason he was telling me to be careful is I didn't want to get in the trike in the front of the line. He's like, no, you have to take the trike in the front of the line. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So is the Trike Mafia like an organized criminal? No, I don't think so. Is it real? Does it exist? Yes. Does somebody like Philly, whose passport is, as he says, the ink is dry, probably not aware or have to deal with it? Yes, he probably is not really aware or has to deal with it, because those are all just kuyas in his neighborhood to him. He's not a foreigner. He's not getting off the land or getting off the plane and having to deal with it. So how is it going to affect you? They're going to try and scam you. If you lose anything in the trike, you're never getting it back. And they're going to try and scam you. And you have to take the trike that they tell you, and they're going to scam you. So let me break down some quickies for you. When you get off the plane and you go to Angeles, they're all going to try and hit you up for like 1,000 pesos to go, 100 peso ride. Just the fact of life. If you don't know the exact amount to pay and you try to negotiate with them or anything like that, you're going to get screwed. Just a fact of life. So when I was there, it was about 150 pesos to go from like SM to Walking Street area. And they would routinely try and get 300 to 500 out of me. This is just in November, December, January, 2023, 2024. So the other thing the Trike Mafia does is they talk to each other. And I'll give you one example quick as proof. I'm walking down the street and I see a trike. I'm tired, I'm hot. I'm like, oh, let me just grab a trike. So I pull out my change, I'm counting my change, see if I had enough change to pay for the trike. And the kuya wakes up and he yells at me, "Trike!" And he's like right there, behind me. I'm like, you're gonna fucking yell in my ear? No. And so I just put my money back in my pocket and I walk away, right? Why would I don't deal with people that yell at me. So I'm walking, I see a bunch of trikes up there on the right. I still have, a 20-minute walk. So I'm like, let me go grab a trike over there. So I walk over there and I'm like, hey, can I get a ride? They're like, oh yeah. They pull out their flag, they wave their flag, it's on a big pole. And the same kuya comes. I'm like, no, I told you I'm not getting in that trike. And so I just take off walking, right? It's not a free world, but it's close. So I take off walking and kuya rolls up on different kuya rolls up on a trike. And he's like, you want to ride? No. And so I get in and he's like asking me, really good English. Why are you not getting that trike? Why are you And so I explain to him, like, look, I'm not a dog. When I walk down the street, you yell at me, I'm not doing business with you. I don't support people who are rude to me. I don't support people with my business who are assholes. And if you're gonna sit there and yell at me like I'm a dog walking down the street or whatever, you know, you're being an asshole. I'm not saying you are an asshole, I'm just saying you're behaving like one. And you're being rude, and you're disrespecting me. You know, the idea that I traveled to how many different countries in the last year, and I don't know how to call a trike, is just hilarious. But you're gonna sit there and yell at me when I'm 5 feet away, Trike, Trike! It's like, motherfucker, who the fuck are you yelling at? So I explained all that to him and how I'd been there a month and I was getting yelled at, you know, 30, 40 times in the walk from the hotel to Walking Street or the mall. And it's like, no, I don't need to pay for that business. And, you know, and he told me he's the leader of that little group. So we have a leader. If we have a So we have a leader, we have an organization, right? You know, whether they're mafioso, you know, I don't think they're a criminal organization, but you can call them any name you want, right? They're a group of people, of men who work in the same business and talk a lot, and they obviously have some sort of leadership. So, how does it affect you? It really doesn't affect you as a tourist. A couple things will affect you, and I'll get into that. One, like I said, you can't pick and choose which trike you take. You have to take the next trike in line, and that line, blah, blah, blah. Two, there's a little bit of price gouging going on because they know you're a foreigner. You walk up to the trike line there across the street from Envy, and, you know, I could walk up there 10 times in a week and get 10 different prices for the same trip. So there's no set pricing, and it's all a negotiation. But if you're negotiating hard with them, you're being disrespectful to the Philippines. But if they're screwing you, they're not being disrespectful. If they're yelling at you, they're not being disrespectful. If they don't return your phone that you left in the trike and instead send you a message like this with their picture from your phone, they're not being disrespectful. Remember that. When they yell at you driving down the street and you don't pay attention to them, you're disrespectful. Them yelling at you is not disrespectful. When they roll up next to you walking down the sidewalks and they hit their horn to make you jump, you're disrespectful to not say thank you. But they're not disrespectful for blasting you with a fucking horn when you're minding your own business walking down the street. So, what are your options? Grab. If you're going to the Philippines, download Grab, use it. Drivers are nice, cars are clean. I had one driver who wasn't overtly nice. And I say overtly nice, he was still nicer than 80% of the trike drivers I've had. I had some great trike drivers there, had some chuckleheads. More money, more money, more money, more money. It's like, if you're there on a weekend millionaire plan, you know, that it's a different story than if you're there long term, right? I was there long term, and you just get tired of the constant hassle. Trike or Grab, there's no hassle. You know, the Grab ride was typically $150 from my hotel to Walking Street. A trike, I could get it for $150, but it was usually like they're hassling you for $200 or $300. And why argue with it, right? The Grab drivers, when you drop them an extra $50, which is $1, right? When you drop them an extra $1, they're very happy. So when you take a $150 ride, you give them $200, they are super happy. A lot of them tried to return it. They're like, no, only $150. It's like, no, that's for you, bro. Your car's clean. Now, I didn't tip every Grab driver. I only tipped the ones that had clean cars, right? Common sense. So the other thing Trikes will do, like I said, they yell at you constantly. Don't get me wrong, there are some great trike drivers out there. I've dealt with some. The other thing that kind of cracks me up is they will park on the sidewalk, in a manner, if you're walking the road there, they'll park on the sidewalk in a way that you have to walk out into the street. There's no way, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to walk out into the street, into traffic, to get around them. And it's like, why would you do that? There's a couple spots there, one right by Tequila Reef, and there's a couple bars I wouldn't even go to because I wouldn't even poke in and have a drink because all these trikes out front, they're parked in such a way where you've got to do like, you know, an extended stay out in the road. And a housekeeper the hotel I was at, thankfully she's all right, but she got clocked by a van crossing the street. That road is not safe. The sidewalks there aren't safe. It's not a great place to be pushed out into the street intentionally. And a lot of locals or people who've been there and their ink is dry on their passport, they're like, oh, well, that's the way. No, it's not the way it is everywhere in the world. Yeah, sure, it's the way it is there. It sucks. It's stupid. And if you're intentionally pushing me into the street, you're intentionally putting me in harm's way for what good reason? So you can yell at me, Trike! No, I'm not doing business with you. I have a little more self-respect. I do business with people who want my business. How else do the Trike Drivers show you and Angeles show you they don't want your business? They're out there catering to, let's face it, fat Americans, fat British, fat Australians, fat Europeans, I've even seen some fat Africans and fat Indians. They're out there catering to the tourist, but they have the smallest trikes in the Philippines. And Marcos, King Marcos Overstay Road just did a video a couple days ago, and it was so funny. I was laughing my ass off. It was, I forgot which video it was. It wasn't the crab video. I think it was before that. But he's putting his whole crew in a trike, and it's a big ass tall trike. Like I could step into it without getting on my hands and knees and crawling backwards into it. It's like crawling out a little cave, or a little box, right? It's like, when I was a little kid, I used to play hide and seek, and I was really flexible, and I could hide under the bathroom sink in the little cabinet. Nobody believed I could get in there, but I could cram in there, right? But now, obviously, that's not the case, right? But getting in and out of those little trikes, it's a pain in the ass. So why do they buy and use the smallest trikes in the world where they have the highest percentage of large fat people? Because they don't care, right? They're not about customer service. There's too many kuyas out there waiting for rides, and so they're too desperate. And I don't know what to tell them, right? If you want to sit around all day, drink Red Horse, and yell at people and think you're going to make money that way, I'm happy for you if you do, right? But you're not making my money that way. You're not making my money when I get in a trike and it's dirty. When I get in a trike and it smells like piss. You're not making my money. I will order Grab all day, every day. So I talked about the size of trikes, I talked about them yelling at you, talked about the horns, I talked about the scams. They're always trying to scam you. And here's the hard part, right? Is you'll come across a trike driver, and it'll be 100 pesos or whatever, and you give him a little tip, and he tries to return it. You'll come across a trike driver, he double checks the inside of the trike before you walk away, right? You'll come across a trike driver, he jumps off the motorcycle and helps you with your bags. There are some really amazing trike drivers, especially once you leave Angeles City. It's a whole different situation. But the tourists in Angeles City have created the problem, and the problem is there, and you're not going to change it. I'm not going to change it, but there is an alternative, and that's Grab. And I would say if you're there as a tourist, I would use Grab 99% of the time, because if it's your first trip, take a trike once. Right? If you take that bus from Terminal 3 to SM Clark, take a trike to your hotel. You're going to walk out, get off the bus. There's going to be some dude there yelling, Trike, Trike, Trike. Like everybody at SM doesn't know where the trike stand is. I mean, give me a break. He sits out there all day, Trike, Trike. And, the business person in me would really love to see if that actually, go 3 days without yelling, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then go, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday the next week, and how many rides are up or down. Do that, every other week for a month, 2 months, no yelling Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and tell me if you get more or less rides. I would really love to see the data on that, because my guess is you're not going to get any more rides. But you can't convince people to change their business, right? You can't change the world. You can just accept it and ride on. So is there a Trike Mafia? Yes. Is it a criminal organization? I seriously doubt it. But just like all the, what do they call them here? There's a name for them here in Japan. Because they have rules against it. All the guys that stand there on Walking Street try and sell you drugs or Valium or Viagra, whatever, right? Cigarettes. Those are all run by one guy. If you look at their boxes, they're all the same, right? And so, when I went there in 2018, there was like 2 or 3 of them. Now there's like 20 of them. And they hound the shit out of you. And I got into it with a few of them. And, boss man comes over. I'm like, look, I'm just trying to walk down the street. And you're stepping in front of me, blah, blah, blah. And he started arguing with me. I said, okay, so you keep telling me, you're trying to sell me Viagra. So you're saying I'm got a problem? You want to test that? You want to put that theory to test? You're calling me a drug dealer or user? You're saying I'm a deviant? When your guys are sitting there like grabbing me, trying to get me to buy Valium, you're telling me I'm a drug user, right? You're telling me I'm some miscreant. So where's my respect as a tourist? Where's my respect as a man? Do you go up to your neighbor and call him a drug dealer or drug user? So no, right? You don't do that. It's disrespectful. Don't disrespect me. And it toned down, because when I got there at the beginning of November 2023, it was crazy. You would get hounded by 2 or 3 of them. They wouldn't let you pass, and you're like, no, no, no. Hey, do you not understand the word no? Is it different in the Philippines? I think it's spelt the same, but is no, like, how do I pronounce it so you understand it? And I had that conversation with one of the older guys there, and I got hassled a lot less. So there's that. There are little mafioso groups, so to speak, but they're not a mafia as you would say in America or Italy or someplace like that. They're just a group of people doing the same business, the same place, at the same time, and they talk, and there's some sort of leadership. And is Philly a fool for not knowing that? He knows it. He's just trying to tell you more lies like he does all the time. He's just trying to make videos to make clickbait and trying to, be the nice guy to his friends. Well, are you his friend or are you his chump?